This WBTV high-definition program is sponsored by Honda Dealers of the Carolinas. WBTV News at 11 starts right now.
Exclusive video shows a thug armed with a knife attack a Charlotte cab driver. That cabbie is okay, but tonight CMPD hopes these images will help catch a dangerous criminal.
Plus major delays at airports around the country. And right here in Charlotte, travelers waiting several hours to catch their flights. But in the past 2 hours, Congress has taken action that could bring their frustrations to an end.
But first, breaking news right now. Live pictures. A head-on crash at East Boulevard and South Boulevard has this Dilworth intersection. You see him right here again live. It is shut down completely at this hour. Good evening and welcome. I'm Molly Grantham.
I'm Paul Cameron. Welcome, everyone. Let's get straight to our Brigida Mack. She is live on the scene in Dilworth. Brigida, what do you know about this crash so far?
Well, Paul, we know that no one was injured. A pregnant woman was transported to the hospital as a precaution, but what you're really seeing behind me, and I'm going to step out of the way, is the aftermath of what was a pretty nasty wreck. It was involving two SUVs and one truck. Let's show you some video, though, we shot within the past half hour. Not a lot of details about the crash at this point, but a CMPD officer telling me this could have been a possible red light run, but he said it was too early on in the investigation to really know for sure. Again, no serious injuries. As I said, a pregnant woman transported to the hospital as a precaution. We'll continue to monitor the situation. For now, we're live in South End. I'm Brigida Mack, WBTV on your side.
Hi, Brigida. Thank you, Molly.
We just checked, and flights from Charlotte to the Northeast are backed up right now, nearly 2 hours, and the budget mess in Washington is to blame. I'll note 11 o'clock, David Spunt is live at Charlotte Douglas with travelers demanding lawmakers take action. Huh, David?
Hi, Molly. I just walked out of the airport about 10 minutes ago and saw 10 flights delayed inbound and outbound. One flight canceled, as you mentioned. People are blaming it on the sequester in Washington, but the folks that I spoke with here at Charlotte Douglas, they say that is just no excuse.
I sat for an hour waiting to take off. There was 21 flights ahead of us.
Stuart Strode flew into Charlotte for a fun weekend with friends, but he started his weekend angry.
The government wants to take all our money, and if we say no, hey, cut back a little bit, what they do is they hit us with this.
Strode is just one of thousands across the country waiting an extra hour, 2 hours, sometimes even 3 hours to get off the ground. Longer wait times blamed directly on budget cuts in Washington.
It sucks. And people have children and trying to get to where they're going, and they can't get to where they're going, so they need to straighten it out.
And the complaints go far beyond the walls of Charlotte Douglas. Several Republicans in Washington are taking out their aggression on the White House.
They've had ample opportunity, months and months and months and months of warning that this was upon them, and they choose at a very late hour to come up with this remedy. It is absurd.
But people like Stuart Strode blame both Republicans and Democrats for the long lines. And don't forget the job cuts. The FAA just announced it would furlough all 47,000 employees.
Not a lot of fun, and they're just playing with us. And what scares me is I have a friend who's an air traffic controller.
All right, something that is not directly related to the sequester but has passengers like Stuart Strode very angry is the fact that United Airlines and U.S. Airways, they just announced that they are upping their fees to change a ticket in advance. That's something that has other passengers just fuming around the country. We're live at Charlotte Douglas. David Spunt, WBTV on your side.
Thank you, David. The Senate passed the Reducing Flight Delays Act tonight. It would allow the FAA to avoid the furloughs. That goes to the House tomorrow.
All note 11 o'clock. In the past hour, prosecutors filed charges against the mother of 4 kids who died in a house fire. Investigators say the 2 boys and 2 twin girls died from smoke inhalation in that fire near Darlington, South Carolina. Their mother now charged with unlawful conduct towards a child. Investigators still don't know how that fire started. There's new information on a story that was breaking news last night at 11 o'clock. Drugs and robbery. Police say that's what's behind a man's murder in southwest Charlotte. William Tunson found shot to death behind the Applebee's on South Tryon. Officers arrested Jonathan Henderson this afternoon. He is charged with that murder.
Tonight, there's a drug plague hitting some of Charlotte's nicest neighborhoods. Black tar heroin. We obtained numbers from CMPD that show where the most arrests happen. Matthews, Mint Hill, Cramerton, Myers Park, and East Charlotte. Sources told us the drugs are coming from Mexico through Ohio and then down to Charlotte, and we learned why heroin is becoming so popular here. It's cheap, around $9 a hit. Most customers are white-collar professionals between 18 and 30 years old. In 2012, CMPD made 93 arrests for heroin. So far this year, officers told us they've made 2 heroin busts. We've posted some resources and information on heroin use on our website, WBTV.com.
Tonight, I showed you exclusive video at 5 o'clock of a cab driver attacked with a knife and robbed. In the 6 hours since we showed this video, CMPD says it's had a few calls, no solid leads yet. The cab driver is okay, unhurt, but officers need your help tonight to catch this dangerous criminal. Take another look in tonight's Crime Stoppers report.
The video is frightening. A cab driver accosted by a man with a very large knife. The cabbie doesn't have cash, so the robber orders him to drive to an ATM where he can steal the driver's money. But let's back up 5 minutes. The cabbie got a call for a pickup from the Grand Oaks Apartments on Wisteria Drive. The man with the white hoodie got in. He wanted to go to a Bojangles, but said he forgot his wallet to turn around. So back they went. On arrival, after passing a cell phone back, he makes his move.
Give me the money. I'm going to hurt you. All I want to say. The most important thing is that the cab driver did not get hurt.
As it turned out, the cabbie used his head. He gave the crook his wallet, so they drove to an ATM. While trying to withdraw money, the cabbie just opened the door and took off running. The bad guy was left lunging into the front seat. He got no money, but he did steal the cabbie's cell phone. How important is it to see such good video in order to catch someone like this attempted robber?
It's very clear video. I think it's good enough for us to get somebody identified.
Think about it. Without the video, police would have only a vague description. That big knife, maybe that rings your memory. If you can help police and would like to earn a reward, call Crime Stoppers, 704-334-1600.
A 7-year-old boy brought a loaded gun to school today. It happened in Alexander County. His parents, Kimberly Setzer and Timothy Mounts, are charged with failing to store a firearm. Students reported the gun to the teacher and no one was hurt. This on the same day that a new school safety bill passed the State House in Raleigh. But the version that passed is weaker than the original proposal. Lawmakers removed a provision that would have paid for more school resource officers, counselors, and panic buttons in classrooms.
The Boston Marathon bombing suspects plan to attack Times Square in New York City. The FBI says the Tsarnaev brothers were headed to New York 1 week ago tonight, but officers intercepted them in a stolen SUV. Inside that car, investigators say the suspects had 5 pipe bombs and a pressure cooker device. But had they made it to New York, the brothers would have found overwhelming security in Times Square that night. The FBI is working to determine how those brothers allegedly built their bombs.
They say they believe the Tsarnaevs got the idea from Inspire magazine, Al-Qaeda's online how-to guide, published by this guy, Samir Khan, a man we tracked down while he was living in Charlotte several years ago, back in 2008. Earlier tonight, I spoke with CBS correspondent John Miller. He's a former assistant director of the FBI and a counterterrorism expert. I asked him about the Inspire magazine connection.
Bomb technicians who looked at these devices and then went back on the Inspire instructions say that with a couple of modifications and contingencies, basically the pressure cooker device and the pipe bomb devices that they used as improvised hand grenades are exactly out of the magazine recipe. If you look at the pictures of the recovered devices, if you look at the article, How to Build a Bomb in the Kitchen of Your Mom by Al-Qaeda's chef, Dr. Dangerous, as they called him, what you're looking at is the same devices.
Stay with us for continuing coverage of the Boston Marathon bombings on the air and online at WBTV.com.
There's new information at 11 on the massive explosion on board 2 gas tanker barges in Mobile, Alabama. Caught on camera. Watch. Tonight, the Coast Guard says the blast was likely triggered by a spark as crew members were cleaning the barges. 3 people were critically injured. The victims of this deadly explosion in the town of West Texas honored at an emotional memorial today. An honor guard stood at attention in front of the 12 flag-draped coffins. President Obama attended that memorial.
He told everybody America will not forget their town or their loss.
We may not all live here in Texas, but we're neighbors too. We're Americans too, and we stand with you and we do not forget.
Also in West Texas, dozens of volunteers from right here in Charlotte, members of the Billy Graham Evangelical Association. Brigida Mack just spoke with one volunteer about the job they're doing there in West Texas. The story all new for you at 11 o'clock.
These pictures from West Texas only tell part of the story. A home so badly damaged you can see straight through to the other side. But others, like these, show the struggle of those left behind trying to cope. That's where Chaplain Chuck Bender comes in.
It's always chaos, and then what you try to do is control the chaos.
On the ground in the tiny town nearly a week, the task before him and the other chaplains with the rapid response team is daunting.
They had this explosion, and it just took them to their knees. They just devastated because it is a small town. Everybody knows everybody, and so somebody knows somebody that knew somebody.
The pain especially deep this time around for Chuck, a retired fire captain. He spent more than 30 years as one of Los Angeles's bravest.
We're trained not to show our emotions or anything, so when something like this happens, it's very hard. In this case, why it's so different is they lost their entire fire department.
The thought of that is enough to take your breath away, he said.
They're now manned by different fire departments throughout the counties here.
Wow.
And they're stepping up and manning the fire stations.
But it was the story of one volunteer firefighter in particular that really hit home.
Pulled up on the fire, watched the explosion, and watched his fellow firefighters die in the explosion.
As he helps that young man and so many others cope, Chuck offered a simple plea.
People of faith, we just want you to pray for us, and especially pray for the people of West Texas.
Brigida Mack, WBTV, on your side.
The Billy Graham Evangelical Association told us they plan to send another response team when this first group returns Sunday.
Well, you may have noticed this, the MetLife blimp hovering over uptown Charlotte. Video recorded this morning from our HD Tower cam. MetLife is expanding in Charlotte, bringing 1,300 jobs by the end of 2015. Let's check with Eric Thomas on a beautiful night, moonlit night in the First Alert Weather Center.
It was a nice day to float around in a blimp, Eric, but things I understand are changing.
They will be over time, Molly, without question. And a beautiful night, as said, 60 degrees right now. Your Scott Clark's Toyota City Weather Net. That's the story at Metro School right there on South Davidson Street. And a beautiful sunset. Could not find a single cloud in that picture. And for that reason, that means we're going to cool off efficiently tonight. A freeze warning in effect for the mountains and a frost advisory that in effect for the foothills. Now, the next chance of rain, well, it's already developed. It's in the Central Plains coming our way. It's all part of your 7-day First Alert forecast.
Some breaking news from the NFL draft. The Carolina Panthers have chosen Star Lotulelei, a defensive tackle from Utah. The team choosing to focus on defense with its first-round pick. Atlanta will have much more on the selection, what it means for the team, coming up a little later in sports.
And next at 11 o'clock, tow truck drivers targeting unsuspecting drivers, stealing their cars, selling them for scrap, and we've uncovered the legal loophole that makes it all possible.
You're watching WBTV, the #1 choice for news at 11 o'clock. We're back right after this.